Hey, this is AKM from the Dallas Fuel, and you're listening to the Center Ring.
Okay, so let's start.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the Center Ring, aka TCR, aka your favorite esports podcast. Coming to you live, pre-recorded from an undisclosed location. The date is October 15th, 2018. The time, 8:08 p.m. Central Standard Time. 8 minutes late, according to our guests, or about 20 minutes early compared to our normal time. So, half glass full kind of guy. This is episode 126, 25, something. Coming to you live again. It's a chilly one out there if you're in Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. Hope you're staying inside, staying dry, and watching your favorite esports podcast. Hit us up on Twitter at The Center Ring. Our website, tcr.gg. You can find all of our stuff on there. A severely out-of-date YouTube channel that I'm going to update at some point this week. Our Discord. Join the conversation there. Let's get to the crew. We have Anuj. Hello, Anuj.
What's up, fellas? How you doing?
Good. And we have Brett, as always. Hello, Brett.
Tim, I don't know if you know this, but there's somebody in our show chat right now.
In our show chat? Or are you
No.
talking about our guests?
I'm talking about our guest. God,
He's not in our show
you're
chat.
so bad.
You're going off script. This is the intro.
Oh, okay. My bad.
This is my time to talk. You don't talk in the intro.
Roll with the iron fist over here. Jeez.
Look, I don't really have anything planned for this episode. There wasn't a whole lot going on this weekend. We got some e-news to get to, maybe some Call of Duty discussion. But really, it's a special week because we have none other than Jason Baker, Alchemist himself, joining us on the show. Hello, sir.
Hello, sirs. Thanks for
Hello.
having me. All right, first thing I'm going to say, your intros are way too long. It
Here
took
we
you
go.
2 minutes to go from
Here we go.
God.
the show start to all your plugs
Always.
to introduce your. So 2 minutes before you no, actually 3 minutes. Boom! It just hit 3 minutes. So 3 minutes before you first go, you got 15 seconds to hook your audience. You got to be like bam, bam, bam.
Oh my God, he's such a producer. Jesus, man.
Let's
God.
go. Let's go.
We are looking for a producer, ironically enough.
Oh yeah.
I offered
Oh,
him. I
man,
offered him
shots fired
Coca-Cola.
at Tim.
I offered him $5.
Do you pay
He's-
Coca-Cola?
He said it was too much for a friendship.
Hey, you know what? We don't drink Coca-Cola in Texas. Alchemist, it's all about the Dr. Pepper. Sorry.
I will drink Mexican Dr. Pepper if you have it.
Pepper.
We do have that. We do have that at Home
Really?
Depots.
That's a thing?
You can get them at Home Depots here.
Oh,
So,
it is fantastic.
let you know.
It's made with real sugar. It's
Yep.
great. Like
So if
like
you
hey
ever-
guys, welcome to our number one talk show about beverages. So
Oh, yeah,
today
that's
is
what we
all
talk
about all
Look,
about Dr. Pepper.
You're the producer. you're taking the show off topic,
oh,
Mr. Producer.
oh, okay. Well, what else is going on in sports? There was a Dota 2 event this weekend.
Oh yeah.
Was
Easy
it?
for ends.
There's a
Oh,
lot.
we're
A
getting
lot going
bad
on.
news
So
over here
Alchemist,
with the
though,
Dota talk.
let's introduce our listeners in case you don't know who Alchemist is. He's been around in esports, I would say, since the beginning. Since esports was called esports, at least. We've actually had him on the show, like episode. It was early on, Alchemist, like episode 2. Look at that. He
Oh, no,
remembers
it was
it
early.
because it
I don't
felt
know.
so
It was
important
early,
to him.
though.
It was early. It was one of our first episodes. Met on the esports subreddit, and I'm pretty sure the first thing he said was a critique about the intro being too long. So maybe episode 126 will be different. Maybe.
Eventually, you're gonna get this right if you
Look,
keep
I
making
come,
shows.
Eventually,
I
oh
come
my-
from radio, and in radio,
I know, and you're just
you take
filling.
your
It's like
time,
it's the difference
know?
between when you go to college and you write reports for college, and they say, "Oh yeah, give us a 20-page essay." So you're telling them about the tint of the color of red. Where if you go to technical schools, they're like, "Yeah, just tell me it's red and move on."
You put do not, don't put don't. Do not's 2 words. You gotta
Yeah,
get that word
exactly.
count up.
This is esports. You gotta be fast. You gotta
See, I'm right.
13 instead of 12. To bump it up just a little
a
bit.
little bit.
I'm right there with you, Tim. I was a history major, so I know all about filler words.
That's right. That's how it works. No,
Yeah.
so let's see. Let's go down your resume, Alchemist. You were at Gottfrag. We talked about that.
Let's see. Let's go older than that. So I would say, to me, esports was when I would read all the articles, because you could hardly watch this stuff, but you'd read the articles about the Quake events and Fresh winning a Ferrari and stuff like that. To me, I felt like I got into esports late in like 2000, and I started doing actual content around 2001.
And how old would you have been then?
I was 25.
Okay.
I was 25, so.
Okay.
What were you doing prior to esports?
Well, nobody made money in esports, so it's what would I do?
What were you doing
most,
with?
Yeah, what did you do?
for most
Why?
esports, I fixed giant copier machines, like the giant, like the ones the size of bigger than cars. Like that's what I did for a living.
I
So
was
I
about-
drove around and fixed those, and
I was about to ask you if you had like an Office Space moment at one point. Just
No,
take
no.
the big copier in the back and just go to town.
I have beat the shit out of copiers before, but that's beside
Who
the point.
hasn't?
So
So that started out with Gottfrag, and you
Okay.
are, I guess your job title is producer, observer, director.
See, the thing is that kind of all. So before Gottfrag was, I apologize for going back on you, but before Gottfrag was MFA VP, and we would film the CPL events. So we'd film Counter-Strike players, the games. We would interview them and just do little daily movies from the CPL events. So that's what I would do for the most part. I get my title was producer, but we didn't even know what anything was because we just did anything. Like I would write things, I would live observe to videotape, and then we would transfer it. So, but at the same time I'm doing that, then I'm doing the interview questions, doing things like that, as well as a good buddy of mine was one of the head admins of the CPL, so I was helping them with things as well. I was playing in some of the tournaments.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I should get you a clip of my 2 versus 1 with 10 health that I won. You can play that. It's great.
You
How many
and Tim
times did
can
that
share.
get brought up?
You and
Yes,
Tim can share stories.
yes, exactly. So
yeah, did you know I was a
did that.
semi-pro in Rainbow Six?
There was also an online radio station called TSN, the Team Shoutcast Network or Sportscast Network. I don't remember exactly the name, but it used to be the Tribes Network, and they kind of expanded to multiple games. So they were like an online radio station. So then I would do color commentary for them for their Counter-Strike stuff, and I'm terrible at it. Anybody that's listening can tell that I do not have a radio voice. So I started actually producing their shows and doing that. Kind of had a falling out with them, and Gottfrag started hosting my videos for me, and I started doing some writing for them. So it's just kind of a natural transition of now I'm doing video for them.
And is that where you met Scoots, or was Scoots prior?
Scoots was prior. I interviewed Scoots in 2002 for one of our movies. And then in 2003, we started having Scoots do all our interviews because he was the best person that we interviewed. I was like, hey, we can just have Scoots do our interviews because he's fun. And my other guys was Mark and John that I did all the videos with. They were engineer students, and they are engineers, so they're kind of boring, which they're smart. And I didn't want to be in front of a camera, so we would always make John do it. So I started having Scoots do all our interviews for us. Then he actually got hired by Gottfrag to start some of their video platforms. I went over to Gottfrag and we started Gottfrag TV, and it was pretty much us, Scott and I, and then we took my MFA VP crew and we kind of launched Gottfrag TV. The very first event we did was a Half-Life 2 tournament on the beach in Santa Monica, not streamed to the internet because it was made to promote Verizon Fios. So for some reason they didn't want to stream it
And
to
that
the
wasn't on the
internet.
internet.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was fucking stupid.
That's an interesting.
But don't worry,
tactic,
they
but
also
okay.
brought out some spoken word poetry for the event. It was
just
weird.
live at the event, but you couldn't
Just live
watch
at the
anywhere else.
event. Exactly.
How many people came out there?
There was a bunch of B-list celebrities and stuff. So I honestly don't remember.
So like TCR type folk.
Yes, yeah.
Not B-list.
Destruct
Yeah,
was
much
one of our casters, but it was like $100,000 tournament. It wasn't like a little like.
That was big money.
especially
I mean, that's big money now.
yeah, 2005. So 2005 was our first like live event. But I had done some like TSN live events before that, and like WCG and stuff like that. So,
Then you kind of started in.
the,
What was your first experience in Counter-Strike?
oh, that was like.
I mean,
right when
got
it
frag and all
came
that, but as far as like
Oh.
seriously thinking, like, hey, I could be like a head observer for this.
Well, it wasn't so much. I mean, I observed the tape, so
Okay.
in like 2002. So, mostly we were watching other people try to do broadcasts. So, ESWC in France did probably one of the first live broadcasts from France. Their observing was terrible. There was an event in Korea that did it, and that was terrible. Here's the problem with old Counter-Strike. Old Counter-Strike, when a player died, your only choice was to go to the previous player or the next player in the list. You couldn't choose who you wanted to go to.
So it's just like
Hard.
fast, like
Yeah.
cycling through
Yeah.
players if you really
Yeah,
Kind of
wanted
like you
to
do it
switch.
now, it's just a cycle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there was that, or people would the people that were observing were doing that, but the casters didn't have that feed, so they had their own feed, and they were talking about two different things. So you're watching a guy come down mid and take out two people, and they're talking about the guy that's standing and doing nothing. And so that was the two things that I wanted to solve. Well, that and that instant replay. So we took Scoots and I, and then the MFA VP guys, and then my brother, which is at that point 2 sets of twins, because I'm a twin and Mark and John are twins. Does that matter? No, but it helps us read each other's mind in a production. So what we would do is we actually took two video toaster systems, which could hold 4 inputs. So we took two video toaster systems and hooked them together to do a show, so we could have live cameras and game cameras. And we took 4 feeds where we could actually plan out some wide shots, camera shots, and then switch on over to a first person. If my first person died, I would have the next shot to go to. And so I observed kind of like one first person shot, and then I did the switching, and then my brother did the other 3 shots of either flying around free cam after setting up a couple other things. And it was kind of a simple of the terrorist team is going to B bomb site. All right, let's follow the T's going into B bomb site. That's what I'm doing. Now my brother's setting up. Oh, he's going to put a CT that's guarding that site, and then he's going to stick a free camera kind of wide in the site, and then he's going to pick either, depending on who had the advantage, one of the T's or the CT that's the support coming into that bomb site. And then I just immediately had shots, so I could, oh, they're coming in. If you want to get that 4K moment, what do? You switch to that guy in the B bomb site. He either mows everybody down or he dies. If he
So
dies,
you essentially
bam,
set you,
switch right
you
back.
essentially set up cameras around the stadium, if you will, to kind of cover any type of scenario.
Correct. And it worked in Counter-Strike up until you start getting lots of exchanges. Then you're back to doing the next and forward
Hmm.
live again. But it would work for at least the initial kind of attack. Our casters had our feed as well as a map feed, so the color commentary could actually talk about that. We had a whole replay system that we would use. And then later,
And so how did that work then? Because back then there was definitely no Go TV or anything built in. Did you
we
just
could-
have a
we could-
computer that would constantly record?
well, no, actually, all we did it was some plugin for Video Toaster, and it could only take one of our feeds and it would rewind the last, like you had to time it out. So it was like you had to count, all right, clip it now, and now you could play the clip. And so, like, say you would just start counting, all right, I got 10 seconds before it'll start, and now I got my clip, and then you could play it. But every time you played a clip, it could crash the whole VT system and you'd lose everything. So it was dangerous to use.
So it was only recording like one of the images that y'all were looking at, though, not all of them, right? So it's kind of sense of luck at that point of catching what you're looking for.
We might have been able to record a program at that point, or it was just one of the observers. So I don't remember exactly. It might have evolved across that depending on the tech we had. So
when did GoTV get introduced?
HLTV came out in 2000. The first Half-Life TV was in 2000.
Or I guess in the sense of when you got all the features you were looking for to be able to do it.
I think this, the guys who run ESL now basically had a side company called ESSA. I don't remember the name of it. They started making plugins for Counter-Strike Source that would let you do that. So when we did the new egg event in like 2006, 2007, we did a new Counter-Strike Source event. They actually ran the tournament, and it was a plugin on their server, so we were actually able to hit 1 through 10 on the switching. So I think Valve just kind of took it from there. Is when it came out on Go, they just implemented that because everybody used that plugin at that point and started using it in 1.6 as well. But it wasn't actually supported by the game. It was just server plugins.
And so, jumping between that and 2015, I know you did some World of Warcraft stuff in between then, right?
Yeah, Godfrag got bought out by MLG. So we did a bunch of stuff as Godfrag, and I moved to Phoenix, and I actually lived with Scoots for a while, then lived down the street from Scoots for a while. And so one of the things that they did was the World of Warcraft 3v3 tournament, and this was Burning Crusade era. So this was like the peak.
It was like the best time.
Some would say not, but it was big. It was actually the first broadcast that we did. I don't remember the numbers, but there was a Gears of War tournament, a Halo tournament, Halo 1 or 2, I don't remember at the time, probably 2, and some other tournament, and then World of Warcraft, all at this MLG event.
Rainbow Six
could have been.
Just saying.
It could have been.
We were semi-pro.
Oh shit. So they just did this big announcement of like, oh, we had this many people watching, and it was like a lot for that time. And once again, my brain's going to skew the numbers, so I'm not going to even say the number, but it was this huge number. But we were like 80% of the broadcast. The World of Warcraft was the #1 esport at that time. It was just nuts how many people would tune in to watch those shows. And that was just Godfrag guys doing that. So MLG eventually in 2008, 2009-ish, when the big financial crash hit, they started closing down stuff. So they tried to get me to move to New York. I hate New York City. I said no. So I was out of a job. And so then a few years later, ESL came to me and said, hey, we're going to do this World of Warcraft event. And, we just want somebody who knows anything about WoW to come and just help. Mm-hmm. And I was just pretty much going to help, and I ended up producing a lot of the stuff, like run a show and just like doing interviews getting interviews set up and just pretty much doing everything. Not everything. I'm trying to think of just whatever the show needed. So right. I was supposed to just
kind of a
make the look
trades.
And feel. Yeah. So I ended up just doing a bunch of show stuff. So I did that, and while I was at that event, I got asked to go to an MLG event and direct their Counter-Strike stuff. Direct all the observers, not the actual direction, because they wanted to change how observing was done. I introduced an old trick that we're doing at the old days was having a delayed HLTV feed. So then that's how you get your instant replay. So you never miss anything. So
right.
You have one that's like 5-10 seconds behind. Oh, this guy got a 4K. You only got the 2K of it. Well, you can rewind. You can just record it off of this other feed. So a lot of times I would run the delay camera and live switch, and I did the major.
I was gonna say that, and that's kind of where we first really crossed paths, was at the Columbus Major. You kind of helped produce that.
Yes, I did the live directing for that, and I did a little bit of producing, just like show ideas and things like that. But they had a whole team already built around.
So when you say like live directing, you're talking about like you were telling them what camera to essentially point to at what moment, whether that's like crowd or
no. So what usually happens in any of these shows, if you have end game, so you have your show open. Yeah, so you have your wide live cameras, and then once the game starts, they kick it over to pretty much me, and then I'm in control of the camera of anything that happens in game. Now, if they go for an audience reaction, that's the other production room, but I was doing all the game cameras, so I would control what all the observers were doing. So sometimes it's as simple as, oh, they're throwing a bunch of smokes. Switch to this camera to show the smokes landing, then cut back over to my main observer, and then it's like, oh, it's Heather, and so Heather's just doing her normal observing, and then this other thing you need to show, switch. It was pretty simple at that event, but that's pretty much what I did.
How panicked or frantic does it get in game as this? Because it all seems like it's happening so fast, right? I know executes and all that gets set up, but how calm are you in those situations, or is it more like listening to a Call of Duty, 5-man event where they're just all freaking out and yelling at each other at the same time?
I mean, Counter-Strike's very calm. Overwatch is everybody's freaking out and yelling at the whole time, but Counter-Strike's pretty calm because it's a pretty set executes and pretty set timings. It's like everybody played so much Counter-Strike, oh yeah, it's going to take them 3 seconds to get through here, or oh, this is a spot that they're spamming. So Counter-Strike, occasionally, somebody's going to click on something wrong, or somebody's going to not get the person, they get it on a person who should get the easy kill, and they fluff it, and they don't get back around to that same site as fast as they want to. So occasionally there's like, oh shit moments, but I Counter-Strike for the most part is pretty relaxed observing.
So that's kind of where you got your start with E-League. You kind of went from the major in Columbus, kind of did a few things in between, but then you really kind of were a permanent resident of the E-League family. You kind of helped kickstart that whole thing for TBS, right? You were kind of part of it.
I came to E-League to produce the show and just kind of teach them esports, teach them how to do Counter-Strike. So,
do you look at E-League now and think that they're, I guess, as they're kind of your baby, right? That's how I see it.
Oh, anyways.
Yeah. Like, do you kind of view E-League and think they're still doing it right?
I haven't watched a ton. I hate to tell you, I've been a little busy. I don't know if you know this, but I've been a little busy. I haven't watched a ton, but I watch every once in a while. And I still text with the director and the current producer of the show. He got hired near the second year as the coordinating producer to help with the shoulder content and he was doing like the Street Fighter events and stuff like that. So I still talk to those guys all the time. We text and give each other a hard time, and
was that your first take on how do I put this? I don't want to say professional broadcasting, because I know
you can say that. You can say that,
but it is right. Commercial breaks and times and everything like that.
That was my first big control room. Vice presidents and presidents of networks and ad people, and the director had done NFL games. There's people that invented inside the NBA, and there's one of the guys that helped invent how college football is shown is there telling you, teaching you. So it's a mix, because I taught them how to do esports, and I taught them how to do commercial breaks and how to make this interesting around Counter-Strike. But then they taught me the TV timings of getting in and getting out, and where in esports it would take all day to get one graphic, and you'd be once you got all your graphics done, you were done. You could not get any more graphics for the day. You're done. Where here there's a guy that's his whole job is to make graphics for you. So you're in the middle of a round and you see somebody that's 007, going to be 007, you just say, hey, can I get a lower third for this guy being 007? And bam, it's up. So you're just calling stuff like that. But they did a really good job of getting my mind around of all the possibilities I have as far as, all right, you're going into halftime coming up next. It could be a delay. If it's a delay, what are you going to do? And this guy, his name's Rodney Triplett. He would do this to me. And like in my mind, I would have this idea of what I would do, but he would get me to start talking to the rest of the crew about my ideas as well. And it seems simple, but it's like, oh, we're 2 rounds away from overtime. Hit the graphics team. Hey, we're going into overtime. I want a head-to-head against the 2 offers. And then get me, get me a full bio page on, give me someone. I was just like Kenny S. I was trying to think of a E-League one, not versus the ones that are right now. But I was like, all right, hey, give me a rundown, bio page on Kenny S. in case I have some extra time. And what now? Because of some contract, we have to go to commercial break at halftime. Hit the talent, take us to break, and then we go to break. So and that's the other thing. So in esports, I would write a rundown on one piece of paper, and we would just like loop the show off of that, where everything's laid out and for the TV. So the full broadcast, you're looking at, a 20-page document, and there's a bunch of stuff that I put in there that I may never use.
Mm-hmm.
And then everything that's coming up, I'm telling the director that this is next. So like for a show opening, it's like, stinger video out to talent is what I might call. And he's going to say, all right, I got 2 good live shots. So he's going to he might hit Richard, or he'll have me, I got 3 shots. And then I'll hit Richard and say, well, at the time it's Richard Lewis. So I'd say, 3 shots, then coming to you. And I would just give them the countdown. There's a associate director who's literally his main job is to count us in and out of breaks and commercials and videos. And I'm just calling counts to the talent and when they can talk and when to shut up and when to throw. Every time a graphic needed to come up, if you go like from a schedule graphic to a prize money graphic, and it is just tell the director, schedule's coming up on Y. And what was it like working with Richard Lewis for E-League? Because I know you've worked with him prior to that, but it's always, again, been in that kind of esports world where you don't have the obligations of commercials and advertisement and important people to really upset. And I think that was kind of his first time at it too. What was it like working with him at E-League as far as, what was your opinion on him? Did he pick it up well? Richard Lewis was fantastic, absolutely fantastic. I would work with him if every show I ever did for the rest of my life, they said Richard Lewis is going to be the host, I would be happy as hell. Did I cut out there for a second?
No,
I got you.
No, you're fine.
You said you would be very upset.
You said you would.
Yeah, you would be so upset. All the upset.
No, I would work with him at every single show. It's not even close. So Richard, I could say to Richard, I could talk to Richard at any time in the show while he's talking, and he could have a full conversation with the audience, and he could listen to me and just move on a fly. And let me think of here's a quick example. All right, so you're going into, he's getting ready to throw it over to the casters because the match is getting ready to start. I just told him do predictions. So he's done his 2 predictions. He's doing his big throw. And now we're going to bring you, and then an admin hits me and says the server just crashed or somebody's PC is having an issue. I could hit Richard and say, give me 2 minutes. And he would go, hey, really quick, before I throw it over the casters, what do you guys think? And he could ask a question that would take exactly 2 minutes.
I always thought he was very undersold at E-League. Real quick, because I do want to bring on that point that where Alchemist was just saying where he could do anything like that. People never gave him credit for, because E-League wasn't just, it started out as just Counter-Strike, but then it turned into he was doing shows for Overwatch, for Street Fighters.
He didn't do Overwatch, but that's beside the point.
Was he not there for Overwatch?
No, Rachel did that one.
Okay. Well, sorry, Richard. I was trying to give you credit, but he could do Overwatch though. That's my point though. Is
So
like
He could have done that show.
He could have done Overwatch, and it always upset me. In my opinion, I felt like the community kind of ran him out of there because it is a thankless job, right? What he does, and
I'm not even sure what happened with all that. Like,
I don't either.
with him
This
leaving.
is just me from the outside, right? It just looked like he just gotten beat down with the criticism, and I don't blame him. It just is a shame because if there was one person that just really fit into that desk host role, I thought he made E-League easier to watch to start off.
Mm-hmm.
Because he could connect with the casual listeners and also, though, have that next level conversation for the esports fan who already knows some stuff. So I thought very underappreciated.
You can kind of listen to Richard talk for hours, like he does all these different shows. You can just kind of, I don't know, something with his voice, obviously, as well, but you could just listen to the dude talk for so long. And he does his job well. There's really only at the time, it was him and Alex doing a lot, Machine doing a lot of CS, and I do think the community, has pushed out some top names like him and Semler. It's not the first time you've kind of seen the community dictate this, and I kind of agree with Tim. I think it's sad that we don't see him as much as we used to.
Yeah, I really wish he'd do more things. Like I said, his work ethic was fantastic. He'd show up and never complain. After a show, so we'd be on the air sometime for 16 hours. No joke. We'd be on the air for 16 hours. Guess what we have to do now? We got to do 30 minutes of voice lines and tags for a Spanish broadcast or an international broadcast recap show. And we're doing that every night. And he never complained. If some of the other guys had to stick around, they may complain, and he would just like, come on guys, let's just focus up, get this through this. He was great. And to me, he was fantastic to work with. I'd love to work with him more and on anything. I actually went and saw him this weekend. So
in Vegas,
it was
right?
great seeing him.
Yeah.
Yep. Went and saw him just, I went out there because I had a job offer, but but part of it was to go visit that and visit the company that he's working with right now as well on the side, and a couple other things. He's just a great dude. Do I agree with all the stuff that he says? No, but most of my friends I don't
think you have to though.
Yeah, I mean, you have to be honest. Yeah, keep it honest.
Here's the thing: is like there's people that say he's racist. He's not racist. If he was racist, half my family's black. If he was racist, I would have nothing to do with him. It's people.
I mean,
make up
like I
things
said, I
about
met
him,
him
and
in
it's a shame.
Columbus, and we shared drinks, and I thought he's completely different than what I thought going into it. Right? I think everyone says that about a lot of people, and it's possible to not agree with the man's opinions on everything or how he conducts himself, but it's also like I can't deny the fact that he's
talented
done,
at what he does.
Yeah, like what he does for esports is completely irrelevant to everything else. So after go ahead.
No, from that standpoint, I mean, even with the similar stuff, I mean, you have to get to a point where you just stop reading all the comments and all the hate that comes at you and just do your job, because sometimes you're doing, as a host or a caster or whatever, you're doing what you're being told by your bosses and to do something.
I don't think people realize how much of that goes into live broadcasting. So even I work in radio, which is way different than TV, right? But you still have that same kind of program director behind you that might be a little bit more corporate than actual talent, right? He might have more of a corporate drive behind him. And I don't think people realize that a lot of times you just can't say what you want to say on air, or you have to cut things short or show certain things, and it's completely out of your control.
Yeah, I mean, even with Semler, Semler would get really hyped, and the E-League people loved it. They wanted more. So you got Reddit saying, "Oh, we want you to do deep analysis stuff," and you got E-League people going, "We want you to yell more." and that's not exactly like, I don't know everything that happened with that, but you have those two things that happen, and that's the job you're getting paid to do. I didn't like doing commercial breaks at halftime, but I had to. That was my job. My job was to help them. Part of my job is not to just present esports to somebody, but let that company make money, so I still have a job. And if that's a sellout, I guess it is, but that's what being an adult is all about. If I could make my house payment working out of somebody's basement, then so be it, but I can't.
And so after E-League, you went to Blizzard and started working with Overwatch and the Overwatch League. And
that is correct. Well,
what happened there? What happened there?
Yeah. Oh, that's a good question. So to start off with that, I did the Overwatch Open. I was a big fan of Overwatch when it came out. Like I got into the first beta, so I really enjoyed it. We did Overwatch at E-League.
Oh yeah, humble brag.
That's funny that he says that though. I was also in the first beta for Overwatch, and I hated it.
Well, it's because you're terrible, McCree.
Whatever. What? You want to come at me right now?
Fine.
You're gonna bring that up? I wasn't gonna bring up your fair play. I was gonna keep it civil.
No. Your McCree is actually really good. I don't know why you didn't like it when it first started. Why didn't you not like it?
You know why?
The first map was Kings Row only.
My brain couldn't get around the fact that, like, as Winston, I was so squishy. Because Winston was going to be my guy when it first came out.
You saw a big hairy monkey, and you're like, this is my guy.
Yes, and I was like, I should be able to go in and just dominate. And it took me a while to realize what kind of game Overwatch was. I was coming from, Counter-Strike, where I could just get headshots all day and kind of outskill people. And then Overwatch, I was like, oh, I actually have to think. Okay, this is different.
It's hard for Tim.
Yeah,
but
I get it.
That's why I play McCree now. It's just headshots, and it's the same thing. But back to what you were saying then. You started working with Blizzard and Overwatch.
Yeah, they wanted me to direct the observing for their World Cup in 2017. So the first offer was, 2017 was that one. So they went to, because I went to Sydney. Was it 2017?
You did the first World Cup, right? Or the second?
Yeah. No, I did the second.
Okay, 17. Okay.
Daniel did Imagine, who he did all the World Cups.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. So I did that. What they were looking for, one, they were trying to sell Overwatch League, so they're trying to sell it to different people, and they wanted the game to be less confusing. And that's what they wanted. And I had a plan to make it less confusing. So that's what we kind of implemented. And we those stops were very hard because besides Daniel, I was getting different people all the time and all the stops. So it was hard to, it's not like hey guys, here's this philosophy. This is the way that we're going to try to do things. This is our communication system.
Like, remember what we did last time? Let's do it different here. It was starting fresh every time.
Yeah, every time. So it would take almost a full day just to get everybody, because you would try to do practices or you try to do live matches, and unless you're playing with the teams at the level at the event, it just doesn't translate very well. So we did those, and they were really happy with what I did there. They really wanted, and then I did BlizzCon, and they were really happy with that. And the thing is, I look at that BlizzCon, and I'm like, it's trash. But for the most part, they were happy with what we did, so they wanted us to go on to do Overwatch League.
What was that? What was it like getting that call?
I mean, it was pretty exciting because at the time I was I'm trying to think, it was like the premiere season. I can't remember. E-League did some stupid thing with their naming of seasons, and so I can't remember. I did like the Clash for Cash, and then I started doing their next season. I think it was like right at the end, like there was only 2 weeks left.
It was the one with Metallica.
No, that was your
E-League last
major.
one.
No, that was the E-League major. Correct. Okay. That was the E-League major. However,
mixed up.
So it was like the premiere season, but I don't know what they call their show now for some reason. If it's still premiere,
I think they still call it premiere. The CS:GO premiere.
Yeah, calling it season names. If that would have been, I think it was, technically speaking, it was season 3. of E-League. So I still had 2 weeks to go for that, and the offer was literally, hey, come on out here. We need you for the Contenders Finals and launch Overwatch League. We want you to come out here and help build this league. And it was like, oh shit, I gotta leave now. Like, I have to quit this job. So they were really, E-League was really supportive. They were like, they gave me a cake, and Richard gave me a big send off on air. It was great. So yeah, I came out here and to LA. We did the Contenders event. We did BlizzCon, and then I flew home and then moved all my stuff out here. So help.
I know, because I remember when you first originally told me that you got the job at Blizzard for Overwatch, I pretty much just problem dumped on you and said, okay, these are all the things that suck about watching Overwatch, and I need you to fix some of it. So,
and I knew that, and that's one of the things that probably got me the job, is I sent a very similar document and even detailed stuff. So when they first showed me the skins, I was like, well, that problem's solved. Next, going on.
Because it's like when Overwatch first came out, it was like the colors for attack and defend were out of whack. It was like your team was red, but then you'd be defending as the red team, but then the progress bar would be blue. And it was really,
it was all over the place.
It was really all over the place.
Yeah.
So how much was Blizzard willing to work with you on that?
They had agreed immediately, when they did the Overwatch Open is when I started talking about team colors and uniforms and stuff. And I wasn't the only one who made that suggestion. I don't think I'm brilliant to say, hey, you guys should do it. What some other esports. I mean, it's a pretty obvious thing. So they were pretty good with that. I think one of the coolest things is one day we had when we were testing out all the color skins, we wanted to change how one of the cameras, or how one of the default settings of how camera positioning and movement worked. And they're like, oh, what key do you want it bound to? And then they programmed it into the game. Then we didn't like how on all the third-person views were, and a year later they fixed it.
I was going to say, that was one thing I remember you told. So when I met up with you at the finals in New York, you were showing me the truck and showing me all the different angles, and I had no idea that what you guys were on as a spectator or an observer was a completely different type of client. Like, third-person angles were different. The way cameras moved, all of that was kind of, more or less built from the ground up just for the observing team.
Yeah, I wouldn't say from the ground up, but I mean, it was a different build for sure. It went through its own QA process, and we would come out there and help QA it and go through it. But sometimes we would QA it, and they'd say, yeah, we don't have time to fix it. Because as a company, they're like, do we fix this bug that's for our 8 observer team, or do we fix something for 40 million people? I don't know how many people play Overwatch, but something like that.
So how closely did you guys work with the dev team then?
We pretty close. I mean, we sent them weekly reports and suggestions. I think, I think one time we sent them like a 22-page document full of pictures and diagrams and write-ups and examples from other games and stuff that we would like implemented. And maybe over the next 2 or 3 years, you're going to start seeing some of that stuff pop up. So, I mean, pretty good. I mean, we were far away, so our studio's in Burbank, and they're in Irvine. And if you go at 11 o'clock at night, you can get there in an hour. So it's not like a quick, we'll just go. Yeah, you'll just go there and look at something on their screen. It would have to be planned out. And we're on air 4 days a week. So, for a live show, 4 days is a lot of things to do and deal with. And sometimes we'd have bugs that we'd have to document and show, and sometimes we'd have production things that we were trying to fix on our day off. So there's quite a bit of stuff going on there.
For you, which opportunity felt bigger, the E-League opportunity or the Overwatch League opportunity?
Both the same. To me, it was pretty amazing to do E-League. It was on an actual television network, big production room, big things like that. Overwatch League was, another game that I also loved. They had a very aggressive and, you know, at the time, kind of a crazy idea of what they wanted to try to do with the league. It was ambitious. I was kind of excited to start and should be involved with that. And I mean, the thing is, I wanted to produce the show. I didn't even want to direct. I really did. I wanted to come and produce the show, and I wanted to help with the observing stuff and the philosophy and stuff. But I didn't actually want to push buttons and call out things. I wanted to actually make the whole show around it and build all the content. Like, I wanted to do what I was doing for E-League for Overwatch League, but they were like, yeah, we need to solve this observing thing. We need to make this better. And then unfortunately, then the Mercy meta came, and it,
that's something I wanted to talk about, because that's kind of different from anything I feel like you ever, like Counter-Strike, the meta might change, but for the most part, the game, the way it looks and feels and plays and observes is pretty much all the same, right? Like, someone might be using a FAMAS compared to an M4, but it's really going to be the same shot no matter what. With Overwatch, it was completely different, where what you thought might have been interesting was kind of out of your control based off the meta.
Yeah, the Mercy meta had kind of like this hallmark of, if you can pick the Mercy, you have a big chance of making the push. You bait out Trans from the Zenyatta, then the Genji can blade, and then they win. It was just kind of that basic setup. But the Mercy kept always threw a wrench in the plan. If they had their Valkyrie up, in the matter of like 2.5 minutes, I believe it was, you could get 3 reses off before, because you get 2 free reses for Valk. So you could res, pop Valk, get another res, and then 30 seconds later get another res. Yeah. And I always think about this time, there was a Reaper on an attack Anubis, and that Reaper died 3 times, and that Reaper won the fight to win the point. But when you're yelling and calling out things for the next shot and the next place to go, tracking where this Reaper is. Oh, this Reaper's dead. Oh, this back up.
It's back up.
It's back up. It just was such a pain in the ass. And we had some basic utility that we were really trying to perfect, because part of our job was to make it so the average viewer could watch it. So we were trying not to switch too fast, and we were trying not to jump around all over the place. We're trying to make it really understandable that, hey, we're going from here to here. And, when you get into this, oh, this team's going to lose the fight, they're going to wipe out these last 3 people or last 4 people. In my mind, I know that this is a waste. All the players know that this is a waste. They're standing still. They're not even doing anything. They're just going to die. They don't care. But from a viewer standpoint, they feel like they're missing something. And I think at the stage 1, I did a really bad job at making sure that stuff was covered. But I was so worried about trying to get all our other coverage handled, I didn't focus that enough. So coming into stage 2, I really focused on, all right, let's make sure we get those cleanup kills. Let's make sure we get some of the little faster switches to get to those important players. I don't care that it might confuse people. Let's try to make sure we catch that. So we did better in stage 2. Although the crazy, go back to the story of meta. In stage 2, we went to all the teams' scrims and all their practices that they did, and everything that everybody did in the practices, nobody did it live. Not one. Not one.
So here you think it's like, oh, this will be so helpful. And then it's like,
no, they
it's like, this guy's watching us. We can't do anything important here.
At the time, I think everybody was theory crafting that it was going to be a Sombra meta, and everybody was really focusing hard on Sombra, and either one of the top Korean teams proved otherwise, or they just gave up on it because it wasn't working, and it just was just kind of funny. It's just like we were building all our positionings and stuff around catching all the EMPs and stuff, and it's like nothing. None of these are going to happen.
Yeah, that's going to be season 2 Alchemist.
Yeah. So
unfortunately.
Yeah, no, hopefully they delete her from the game and you don't have to watch her anymore.
Oh, my man.
I did want to bring up one tweet of yours. Spoiler alert for those who don't know. Alchemist is not returning for season 2 of Overwatch. Whatever reason. I want to make you get into it.
I'll tell you the reason. creative
go for it.
differences. There's absolutely creative differences. I wanted
With
to
who?
keep my
Say
job.
names. Say names.
I wanted to keep my job, and they felt the exact opposite.
Yeah, I feel like that's most of the time in that
So-
situation.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't, you know.
I would go ahead. Go ahead with your question.
I was going to ask about the Apex tweet. So if you have something to say before that, go for it.
Oh no, go ahead.
Okay.
Ask me about the Apex.
So
tweet.
all of Reddit, right after the news, they are fans of Apex. The subreddit for competitive Overwatch wants to get the Apex crew in there. They talk about the Tracer and the fights and all that. They really like the Apex Observer. And you tweeted out, I believe you tweeted out, or maybe you commented on Reddit, stating that that's not going to happen. Blizzard is not going to hire the Apex crew because Blizzard doesn't want the Apex style of observing.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many different layers to that. The first is they do not like the Apex style observing. I mean, I can go to the finals that was of Apex and show you a Sombra Tracer fight over a health pack that didn't matter while the main point was being capped. And it's like, do you guys really do like that? Okay. Now, Apex did some really fantastic stuff. And the best stuff they did was during those big combo metas where you had gravitons into barrages or gravitons into
Dragon.
Hanzo arrows. And sorry, you know what the other thing is? I just did a whole event with a half a Korean crew, so I'm trying not to use all the fake names that we used for abilities and stuff. And I'm not going to tell you any of them, but we had shortcuts for everything, for all the abilities, because their English wasn't the best and my Korean is awful. So those things Apex was really good with. Apex was also, by the time you were watching them, and looking at highlight clips from them, that whole crew had been working together for almost 2 years. And you're talking about a crew that had been together for a couple weeks that was working. So there's, with completely different styles of meta and different styles of philosophy of what your target audience is. Blizzard does not want the people in the audience puking. And going tracer to a Sombra that's teleporting is confusing and makes people puke. So you don't do that. It's not what they want. They want a general audience to be able to watch it. And so my target, I don't know what Blizzard's ideal target market is, but me as a director, I always thought if you played Overwatch and you played it on Saturdays and then you put it away and then went and did your own thing, you could tune in and watch the game and understand what's going on. That was my particular goal.
Do you regret saying the phrase you wanted to tell a story?
So here's what I regret. So when that all came out, so we were in the Poland event. So I woke up like at 4 a.m, completely jet lagged to hell, and I saw that. And in my jet lag, I replied with this really basic, I was agreeing with them because we had a meeting the night before. It's like, we were completely fucking trash. You guys were not getting me anything good on the screen. I'm not reacting to that. And there were some other production issues that kind of evolved around that, but I'm not going to make excuses with that. We had a show to do and the audience needed to enjoy it. And so we got together at dinner that night and we just went through all the things that we can do to try to tighten up our show around what we're being asked to do, but also make it better. And so I go to bed that night, and of course I'm jet lagged. I wake up at 4 or 5 in the morning, just completely out of my mind because you're tired, but you're not tired, and you just get this weird awake instinct. I hate jet lag.
Right.
And so I see this post, and I'm like, and it was like basically the observing sucked, and I was trying to say, yes, I agree the observing sucked, but it didn't come out that way. So then people started getting really, and it's mostly because either autocomplete on my text or just I wasn't awake enough to actually do a coherent sentence. I mean, I can barely do one now. So it was just some fragment of a shitty ass sentence, and then so people started attacking me. And I'm like, dude, I'm just trying to tell a story, like that's what I did in Counter-Strike. That's what I did in World of Warcraft. That's what I did in Fear. That's what I did in Return to Castle Wolfenstein. And like to me, it's always about storytelling. It's kind of like the build up and the release,
Mm-hmm.
but it didn't come out that way. And I got attacked so much on that thread. I was like, you know what? I'm being told by somebody to do something. I'm just going to do my job and forget this community. I'll not forget the community. I was like, I'm just going to leave this subject alone.
Well,
And
kind of like
I
how you
wanted
said, right,
to-
with Richard Lewis, where sometimes just don't read the comment section.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, I was
Sometimes don't do it.
also asked, hey, don't reply to that anymore. So I didn't. So that's why I never made another comment about it. And I kind of wish I did, but I was not in a position to. When somebody that hires you for things says don't do something, you just don't do it. So
Typically don't do it.
I didn't comment anymore. And it's right. I mean, the observing was terrible. It got better by the third day. It wasn't great, but it was. Here's a crew that had been together for 4 days tops.
Mm-hmm.
And we had 1 day to make sure everything worked. So it's not like, oh, you're together for 4 days. You can practice a whole day and then get into it. No, you spend most of the first day making sure your keyboards work, your mice work. Oh, do you have sound? Oh, sound from PC1 is being tracked on PC4. And you got to get that fixed. And now you're waiting around for 20 minutes for a sound guy to come along. Like a day of setup sometimes is 12 to 16 hours, and half of it is sitting waiting around for somebody to solve a problem that you have. It's like, oh, here's your screen. Yeah, this screen's useless for me because I can't read anything. We need to get new screens in here. So
Was there ever a problem early on with Overwatch where, I mean, as you mentioned, right? You guys were a 4-day crew. Overwatch as a whole was still pretty new as far as, okay, how do we want to observe it, right? Do we want to just show the kills? Do we want to tell the story? How is there's got to be a way to do both, and what's the best way? Was there any other time where you guys like sat together, said, okay, this is the game plan for this game. We're going to follow Genji's or whoever. And then all of a sudden a team whipped out a Junkrat and you were like, what the hell is this? Like, what is this mid-game change we weren't even expecting?
No, I mean, the thing is, everybody had played and understood the game. Like, anytime a Junkrat came out or something, like, we knew pretty immediately, like, oh, what this meant.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, if they're running an Ana, this is what's important. If they're running a Zenyatta, this is what's important. Like, everybody got that. And it was something that somebody would always call out. It would be like, oh, this person swapped. Or this person has this advantage here. And sometimes the advantage didn't matter because, teams would walk in with 5 ults and still lose. But
right?
yeah,
That's the game.
and then you had but I mean, overall, it was. I wouldn't say we were ever like not surprised. Like, the stuff that's hard in the game is when one person pops off. If a Widowmaker misses their first clip, and actually this was somebody from Apex that I actually had talked to. I was like, hey, what do you do on Widowmakers? And they go, I give them 1 clip. If they don't kill somebody in 1 clip, I'm off. And they got to do something. And I was like, hey, that's a good philosophy. And I actually I adopted that one. But as soon as you switch off that Widowmaker and they take out 3 people, it's your fault. Yeah, it's your fault. It's like, how are you supposed to know? There's just too much going on. That's the hard bit. It's like when Tracer Genji carry or a Widowmaker carry or even Hanzo a little bit, it's really tough because you don't know when they're going to go off. Like this current meta, where there's goats and there's anti-goats and there's a couple other things that work against it. I'm not going to go into details, but like if somebody's running goats, it's pretty easy to understand. Like, oh, they're going to go for a shield bash, they're going to go for the shatter combo, they're going to go for a quick graviton. Like, you kind of know all this, but it's kind of like that's easy to set up and it's easy to show. But it's like, oh, they got a Junkrat. Well, you might not show the Junkrat, but you know he's going to get tires really fast. You know, it's like little things like that. Just somebody would just call it out. Dan was really Imagine, who. Well, let's talk about Imagine later. Ask me next. Ask me about Imagine.
I was planning.
So he was
you
he was really good
at
at that. I am producing your show though.
Whatever, bro. Whatever.
Yeah, dude. It's
Put this
So, yeah,
on your
so
this on your
that's
resume.
put this on your resume.
Yeah, I will. I will. I'm updating right now.
I wanted to ask you about Imagine.
Imagine.
Tell me about
Oh.
him.
Imagine, also known as Daniel, he is probably has the most experience in Overwatch production than anyone else. He's been doing, like, since early betas, he was doing stuff. Like, he drove down with fish sticks to an event. He observed for ZP for the Rock Cups and all that other fun stuff. Like, you name the old event, and he was involved in it. When I watched the Atlantic Showdown, I think ESL did that one at Gamescom. I was like, oh, finally, an observer that knows what he's doing. This guy's good. Who's this? And, like, I was messaging all the talent, tell me who the observer is. And Daniel was one of the observers, and this was the one that I really liked. So I got him hired for the Overwatch Open for E-League. And fantastic work ethic, fantastic. As far as, like, you kind of give him a theory, he'll take it and then run with it. So he did that, and he did all the World Cup stops and BlizzCons after that. So he was the guy that I didn't get to hire anybody when I got hired for Blizzard, but he was the guy, like, you got to hire him. Like, and I had this idea of using the free cameras. So what I did is I always used 2 free cameras, 2 first person. Especially for Overwatch League, we were limited how many people we could have in the server. Sometimes events we can only hire 4 guys. Overwatch League, there's a limit on how many people we could have in the server. So we had two guys that did replay.
Yeah, why is that?
Because it was a 144 tick rate server.
Okay.
So
performance
we would lag the server out if we had too many people in there.
Okay.
So we had one guy that would do the instant replays, one guy that would do those fancy slow-mo highlight replays and analyst stuff for the desk, then 4 live observers, 2 free cam, 2 first person. I kind of had this idea of using the cameras to chase each team. So if a team started taking over, I could switch to any of those cameras. But it had certain drawbacks and limitations. And Daniel came up with this really good, especially on payload maps, this leapfrog system that gave me all of this coverage and all these great angles. So he pretty much led that whole system of how that works. And every time a new map came out or something, I would say occasionally, hey, I would like this covered a little bit differently, or I'd like this moved, but mostly how both of those cameras worked and talked to each other as a unit was done through Daniel. I think his most famous work was catching Linkzr falling in the water and on Rialto and shaking his head in disappointment as a cameraman. I think that was my favorite thing that he's done. But
and also help me this, because I know this was a particular one for you. Free cam is different than third person cam. Third person is when you're following the character. Free cam is like literally him with a controller moving it around.
Correct. A free camera is like a drone camera. It can fly anywhere in a stadium or a map or any place. Third person is locked behind a player.
Which was really important, especially for maps like Junkertown, where it's so, like, close space after you get past that first point. It's nice to have, a free cam to be able to, like, catch, certain angles. So
did you have any other Overwatch tournaments, I guess, organizations go up to you guys and say, like, hey, how did you get this free cam working, or can you give us tips on how to observe Overwatch?
We built whole documentation and of what we did and some philosophies behind different tools and different things that we did. We passed out as many. I've had people that, hey, I'm going to observe this event. What do you do in this situation? Because Overwatch has lots of problems of, like, what do you do when X happens? And so I would give them what, this is what I do, and then this is the 2 other things that you can do as well, and they take that to their event. Did as much as I could to try to, kind of foster a sharing of knowledge as much as I could.
Yeah, right. Share the knowledge, but don't share the secrets. type of thing, toe that line?
Oh no! When I was working for Blizzard, I'd share all the secrets because to me that was part. Nobody ever told me this, but to me, my part of my job was to make Overwatch watchable at all levels and exciting. Like I worked with the Contenders guys that did Contenders for North America, and some of the Korean crew. They had all their documentations, and we talked with them a lot about different philosophy and shots. And sometimes they had lots of control over their production, and sometimes they didn't. It's just kind of weird. I can't get into a lot of that.
Right. So you and Imagine are not coming back for season 2. Support Frags in our Twitch chat is asking, do you know, is it a whole new observing crew coming in for season 2?
It is not. It is not. It is most. There was 3 guys that are freelancers and 2 other guys that were full time.
Okay.
So they will all be returning. Sorry. As far as I know, they will be returning. They will be doing BlizzCon. We were kind of going over some different observing style stuff that we were wanting to work on for season 2. If they bust that out for BlizzCon, it's the perfect meta for it. But I don't know if they're going to. So I hope they do. There's still some good guys there, and there's some guys that, but we'll see. Like season 2, I don't know. Like they're not gonna like get a whole new serving crew. I know who's gonna direct, because he's the guy that I had been having direct occasionally. I'd have him sit in a map or 2 and direct. Right. Daniel did some as well. Daniel did some. Daniel was always my, hey, if I eat something that makes me sick, because Daniel sat right next to me, so it was, if I eat something that makes me sick, you get up, slide over, you're directing. So he was my emergency call. Never had.
Well, I mean, your diet was Coca-Cola and Starburst. So I mean, what could possibly make you sick?
Yeah, the XQC diet.
I think one time we got sugar-free gummy bears, and that kind of made the whole crew sick.
Oh no.
But there was another guy named Dylan, and he's a fine director. He'll do fine at it.
You think we'll see a pretty similar style since it's kind of been done through you now, and it's retaining some of those people?
I don't know. I don't know what's gonna what they're gonna. I mean, like I said, they could be trying the new style that we were talking about. There's lots of things that can bag you in it, which I guess they'll have to figure that out on their own. But that, or they're going to do a similar style. I'm not exactly sure how they're going to rotate people. If they're going to do 2 free cams, if they're going to have 1. I don't know. I have no idea how they're going to do it. But BlizzCon will be fine. Like BlizzCon will be a nice and decent event. It's only 2 days. It is the easiest event of your life. It is so, I hate to say it, but it's so fucking simple. It's a
Why is
crew
that?
The crew that helps set it up. It's a crew that's you've worked with a lot. It's a lot of the OWL production crew. The guy that runs the truck that the Observer's in is a guy named Lance. He's done all the BlizzCons. He did the New York finals. He knows everything that we need in that truck. So, like, as far as setup and comms, and it's fine. I mean, it's not like you're going to be doing an event without sound, which we've had to do on World Cup tours and stuff. It's not like you're going to be doing like things under as much pressure. A lot of these matches are going to be blowouts. There's only going to be a few really close games. A lot of the games are just going to be just bam, done.
Right,
so that's
follow the
easy.
popular player, and
Yeah.
everyone.
When
will be happy.
when you're sitting in the 3rd week of Overwatch League, that's when you're going to tell how the crew is and how they're doing. To me, that's how I see it.
So, I won't ask you what's next for you because I know you won't tell me what you've been doing or who you've been talking to.
The answer is everyone.
Everyone.
The answer is everyone.
A freelancer, by the way.
Freelancer, by the way. So is Daniel. Daniel is also a freelancer.
So is Daniel. Yep. So, would you prefer going into a scenario like Overwatch, where it's kind of like, we need your brain to teach us how to observe this, even though I don't really know if there's any esports out there that falls under that category right now?
Except all the BR games that are terrible. Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah.
Or like Rainbow, or
Do you have
Like,
time
yeah,
to talk
Rainbow.
that?
Well,
I
I
don't
mean,
want to take up your whole night.
Rainbows. That's an Activision product. I don't think they're gonna invite me to come back. Although that's ran by a lot of the MLG people that still love me. So
Yeah.
maybe. I don't like. So the reason I went to Overwatch League is because I wanted to build something. Like I didn't want. I wasn't going to build Overwatch League. I was going to build all of Blizzard's broadcast for all their products. That's the thing that I was kind of promised, and that was the thing, the shiny carrot out there of going out there and building and building. That's what I like. I like to make great shows, make things entertaining. Our desk segments at E-League were great. Our shows were great. The games looked good, and we did a great job of capturing human emotion, not just winning. Overwatch League was my original thing that I was hired for, was to make the observing watchable for the general audience. Did that. Would have liked to do a lot of things to fix their show. Was not given that opportunity. They have all my notes, so we'll see what happens if they go with any of those. But who knows? So to answer your question, I'm more than happy just freelancing around and just doing some gigs, and I think I can help make any show better because I learned from some really, really good people from Turner, and I'm going to take all
Right.
the stuff that I learned from
you've
Turner
worked-
and take it to other show.
You've worked at every aspect, at every level. You know,
Yeah.
it's not. I
so,
don't have to
I
tell
mean,
people how good you are. I mean, that's what, you know. I'm
I'm
biased because we're buddies, and you're my fair partner, and I have to carry you in Overwatch. But
Yeah. Thanks for carrying me.
also, Rainbow is Ubisoft, sir, so you could go to Rainbow.
Rainbow, yeah, I know how to fix that too. That's they have
please.
some great fucking tools. Their map tool is absolutely fantastic. How you can see through the different levels and stuff.
Mhm.
That is an amazing tool. That looks absolutely wonderful. But I'm sorry, I'm going to use the word, but storytelling is lacking. They just switch all over the place. They're not listening to the casters. They're not going with momentum. They're not building tension. I mean, you're sitting there and there's a guy hiding out in a room, couple attackers. I don't know the full thing of Rainbow Six. I've watched a little bit, but it's like two guys come in, they place a charge on the door. Now you cut to the guy that's waiting on the other side of the door. Now you got that anticipation. You know that bomb's going to go off. You know at any second that bomb's going to go off. Bullets are going to start flying. What are you going to do? Now, as a player, you've been in that situation, so you know that situation. You feel that intensity. As an observer, they should be switching to that player to catch that intensity, and sometimes they're sitting in still the outside view. Oh, let's
Yeah.
catch everything. No, you're not catching everything. You're ruining that tension. But sometimes they're that moment's getting ready to happen, and they go to the other side of the map of a guy. I'm not sure what he's doing,
Yeah.
but I don't. So yeah, I could do a game like that.
Yeah.
You
I
say
mean,
you-
they got just real quick, Anuj. I mean, they have like half the battle already solved there. Like, I love their casters, Intero and Kickstar. They're amazing. But yeah, I'm with you, Jason. It's just when I watch a Rainbow match, I feel like I miss so much. Like I don't get hyped for those big fights. So please fix it. That'd be awesome.
Ubisoft can call me, or whoever's doing those. Is Starlighter doing those, or is ESL
Hired
doing
me.
those?
ESL.
ESL.
ESL's doing Rainbow. Yeah.
Now, you say you can make like any game better. Looking at a game,
Well,
like-
not any game, but any broadcast.
broadcast. So
Broadcast.
a game like Counter Strike that you've been involved, and then you know obviously you left for the Blizzard opportunity. Do you think you could go back there and even make a difference with something that's already so established and it's such an established game?
Yeah, because like the observers are really good, and there's lots of really good. Connors did really good at the major. Heather and DJ, of course, are really good observers. Rush has done some good stuff as well. But from an action, like for the most part, the only thing that I've ever had to tell DJ or Heather, for instance, for all those Overwatch, Jesus guys, sorry, for all the E-League stuff was maybe slow down because we're on TV, slow down a little bit, or or I hear a caster start really hyping up a certain thing, and they start to switch away, and I'll try to get them to get back to this moment. Or say we just did a big feature on Forest. Well, I want to make sure that hey guys, can we make sure we show Forest a little bit more? Like little things like that. So that, like, Counter-Strike, I really have very little to do with the observing anymore. It's like I kind of helped bring it to where it is back when, all these observers started coming up and becoming good. Teaching them philosophy and techniques and stuff, and they started adding their own. They have plenty of stuff. Like Heather and DJ just do lots of really, really good things I've never thought of, and that's great. I love handing down a template and they build on it. So, but can I make people's shows better? Can I help, make your desk segments better? Can I make the audience want to stay tuned in? Can I make things snappier? Can I make things more interesting? Can I try to make things more fun? Can I bring the human element into some of these big moments a little bit more? Yes, I can help how your production works with the game.
And that's kind of my biggest gripe about Counter-Strike right now. For example, they'll have a tech delay, and then it's just the desk crew kind of like having, somewhat like an awkward conversation. It's like there's so much you could be doing in this moment.
Yeah,
But you kind of mentioned that earlier, right, Jason? That you said that there's only a set number of graphics that are put in place, right? So if there is a delay, where let's say now another 45 minutes comes in of just pure talking, they can't just yell to somebody in the back to make graphics like you were able to do at E-League, like you said.
Well, they should be able to by now. They should be able to.
But they're not doing that currently, right?
So, I mean, it has to do with at E-League. Like the E-League Major was like that. The one in Atlanta was at the last minute there was an update that basically broke all the player configs. So we're constantly, all the players are redoing all their configs, and that's why that show was a mess for 2 days. I don't think the audience really realized what a mess the show was, but it was a mess. At the beginning of every day, I would build 20 minutes of filler. And every segment would be a 15-minute segment, but the goal was to finish the segment in 10 minutes. So the goal was to always throw stuff away. So I'm walking into a show with 20 minutes of actual content that I hope to never use. And then sometimes there's lots of emergency stuff. Give me bios on all the teams. Give me the record of all the teams. How did the teams, if NIP is the team that's up, make sure you have this graphic handy of how NIP got to this point in the bracket. Because the second, we got a delay, Richard, talk about NIP. And then that's all he would do. He would just start talking about NIP, and I'd start throwing up graphics, and I'd hit the replay crew, guys, give me some B-roll of NIP. And they just start rolling graphics, and you're just thinking, I'm just watching a little segment. You're not watching a segment. I'm filling time. I'm running all over the place. I'm hitting people up. Hey, is there anybody that we can interview? Is there anything that we can run? The first thing, a lot of these do, we got a problem. Let's just run to a break, and we'll do a 4-minute break. We'll come out of that break, and during that 4-minute break, my whole problem is like, well, what did you do? You have no video packages lined up. You don't have any graphics lined up. You don't have anything to do to entertain the audience. So, that's
an issue with that's esports tournaments in general. There's so much downtime where the only thing you're looking at is a graphics with a countdown.
Yeah,
which for me, from a production standpoint, is terrible, right? If you're telling me, you'll be back in 10 minutes, that means I'm going to turn off the stream for 10 minutes and I'll come back.
And maybe I'll remember to turn it back on.
Yeah, maybe.
And that's something I would never want to do. And our goal was always to, only time that you would throw that up is, it was behind a commercial roll. So here's a little tip for kind of understanding what's going on. So a lot of times if you're a big tournament and you have like a Twitch contract, you have to, under your contract, run so many ads an hour, a day. Every contract's different. And sometimes it's a number of ads, sometimes it's minutes, whatever. So if you want to run if you want to have a 2-minute commercial break, you actually only run a minute 30 ads, because what's going on is there's a 10-15 second delay by the time the broadcast in China or Europe or whatever is getting this feed, is getting the actual trigger to run the ad. But if you do your minute 30 timings, the second that you come out of your ad break, everybody in the world is coming back in at the same time. So that's the thing that you kind of have to queue up, is everybody coming back into the show at the same time. When you do TV, your commercial breaks are solid. You can't pick and choose. So
Right.
But then the rest of the world, they're getting smaller breaks than what you are. They're just sometimes looking at a wait timer because they haven't synced up with the rest of the world.
Okay.
But beyond that timer, you shouldn't get anything.
Right. Try to
Or
eliminate as
you
much
should be
dead time.
rewarded if you do. Like, you should come up and there should be a song and dance number or something should be going on. If you made me wait 3 minutes, you better have something for me.
I know I'm taking up a lot of your time, Alchemist.
Yeah.
But I do appreciate it.
I
You
appreciate.
complained when we
you
were
know,
late, but you're not complaining that we're going late.
Yeah, I know, right?
As long
I
as
don't-
you,
you
as long as you
didn't-
have the
you
main stage.
You didn't tell me the end time. So if you told me
There
the
is
end
no-
time, I'd be like, you're going
Listen,
over.
dude, do you not listen to the show? You think
Not
we
very
have a plan when
Like-
we start this thing?
This
we
just
just-
goes back to
we
the
just
only
gotta
thing I've paid
go.
attention to for the last year is Overwatch League and going to the show, sitting there for 50 hours a week, going home, sleeping, doing adult stuff like laundry and cleaning, and then going back to the show and doing it again. That is all I've fucking
I
done
know.
for the last
Our-
year.
Adulting
our-
is hard.
Our Overwatch playtime severely took a dip.
I know, right?
Yeah.
We were climbing that ladder. We got to Diamond together, and then it was like, I was trying to text Jeff. I was like, Jeff, let Jason come out to play.
Can Jason come out to play?
Yeah. And no.
You know,
I
they
will
always
this.
say they always say don't meet your
go ahead.
heroes. Is Jeff as cool as he looks?
Jeff is fucking awesome. I will never say a bad word about Jeff. Even if Jeff was the guy that came over and said, Jason, you're fired, I'd probably hug him and say, I love you, Jeff.
I love you
Thanks for
so much.
firing me. But I this had nothing to do with Team 4. This is like broadcast stuff and stuff that they're doing for expansion and all that other bullshit. But the whole dev team and even the QA team are just absolutely fantastic. Project manager Marissa, and I love all those people. I loved working with them. Keith is probably the main developer that I worked with, and he's picky about what he wanted to see on the broadcast as well, but he's also very good at getting the tools of the game. Like, he invented the map view that we use. Just so many good things. Jeff is and Scott Mercer is really great too. He's the guy who placed Kara in fucking World of Warcraft, and he's to get and sit there and talk to that guy is great. But Jeff,
Who do you hate over there?
do what?
Who do you hate over there?
I didn't. Nobody on Team 4. Nobody on Team 4. Nobody on Team 4.
He's thinking
Jeff-
about it now.
He's like, he's thinking. He's thinking.
I'm
He's like,
going through
oh,
the
wait,
list
wait,
right
wait,
now.
wait.
I'm censoring myself very, very much. But Jeff, one of the first couple, maybe first month or so of like Overwatch League, we had a meeting to come down, and Jeff gave a talk. And you know, for us to do a meeting, it's like, oh, we got to go on our day off. I think it was like even a Monday or a Tuesday. I can't remember, but it was like our day off, and it's you're kind of tired from out the week, kind of grumpy, like, oh, don't want to go in and spend 2 hours fighting traffic to go down there, 2 hours to come back for just an hour meeting. I would have actually given one of my fingers to go to this talk, because Jeff talked for an hour, and it was the most amazing, funny, inspirational thing that I've ever heard. I can't tell you any of it. They talked about Project Titan, and they talked about how Overwatch formed and their philosophy. It's fucking brilliant. It was amazing, amazing talk. Jeff would come by every time he was like at an event. He would come by the observer room and talk with us and say something with us. really great guy, really nice. All the crew, all the Team 4 people are really good. They're really receptive to our ideas, even if they were stupid. The QA team that we would test with all the time were really great. Overwatch is a very, very, there's lots and lots of stuff going on under the hood. And it's like, oh, how can this get by? Well, they fixed 3,450 things and this one got by. I apologize. It's that whole team works really hard. Overwatch actually has a dedicated QA team. And I don't know if that's the same for all the other games, but they are dedicated to Overwatch and they do lots of great work. So
Good stuff, Alchemist.
All right, I've rambled enough, or do you got more questions?
I don't know. We do have viewers on Twitch. I don't know if they have any questions we can ask you. We'll see if they say anything here in like the next 30 seconds. If not, when are we gonna play Overwatch?
Hey, I'm so here's I'm
Did
kind
you
of in this.
Immediately uninstall every Blizzard game? Or
I did not. So here's the worst thing. It's like, hey, there's kind of like, oh, Jason, did you get fired or did they just not renew your contract? When you promise me I have a job next year and then tell me I'm not coming back to me, I feel like that's fired. So I'm gonna go with I got fired, whatever. Then the Pharah changes went live, and I was like, oh my god, this is what I wanted. So I played one round of quick play with Pharah. I murdered people. I made people leave the server. It was wonderful. Haven't touched another video game since.
You'll never touch the ground with the new updates either. With the new Pharah, pretty crazy.
Yeah. So I'm just like I will eventually probably. I still love the game. I still love Overwatch. But I had been broadcasting Counter-Strike for years, and I hardly would play Counter-Strike anymore because I only like Counter-Strike as a 5-stack. Counter-Strike, I won't play with pickups and just no fun. So once it became a chore to just play Counter-Strike, I stopped playing it. I just play Deathmatch.
We talked about that a lot.
Yeah. About once every 6 months.
The casual scene for Counter-Strike has changed.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because I mean, it's for busy people like you, me, Tim. I mean, it's hard to find time because you play a Counter-Strike match. You may be dedicating like
24/7.
You may be dedicating like 45 minutes to an hour of your life to one match. It's like God.
Yeah.
So Overwatch is quick hit.
Yeah. So I got the new Assassin's Creed. I still haven't played. There's a bunch of games that I want to play that I haven't. So right now I'm focusing on doing the freelancer stuff and focusing on getting all my stuff out of California. It's very expensive in California. I don't know if people know this, but it's very expensive just to be here. And when there's no money coming in, there's a lot going out. So getting out of California is very important to me. So I'm going to work on that, and then maybe by the time middle of November rolls around, then I'll start playing video games again. And we'll see if I touch Overwatch
just
again.
Hit me up.
I'm really proud of
aren't you
the work
friends
we
with
did
like
on
pros? Like, why aren't they carrying us?
Yeah, why aren't they carrying it?
I don't think they would like that.
I should be Grandmaster with your connections.
Just
by
give
now.
us the usernames, and that's it, and we'll figure it out from there.
Um,
Have you thought about playing the new COD?
I haven't really enjoyed Call of Duty since Call of Duty 2. So
play
this
with
one
me.
might give you the feels a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. I've been up and down on COD for a long time, but this one actually feels pretty good. I think they did a good job over there.
Is it wait in the corner and shoot people in the back like normal Call of Duty, or is
it's really fast paced. I feel like this game almost might be a little bit too fast. I think they should probably slow it down just a tad personally, but it is a very, very fast paced, like heavy action in your face. Even the BR version, which is what I love about that part of it, is even that feels incredibly fast paced. It's not a lot of let me sit in this one bathroom and hope somebody walks by or listen for footsteps. I mean, people want to engage, and so I think they found a good little formula here with the BR side and multiplayer side. I think the pace is really good in there too.
Yeah, Do you work for Activision? That was a good sales pitch.
Yeah, I know, right?
No, but I've enjoyed it. I mean, like I said, I've given COD several opportunities in the past, and this one feels quite a bit better than some of our recent explorations with them. So worth a shot if you get yourself a gig here pretty soon. Catch a
We'll
little
play
free
some time.
Yeah,
We'll play some time out.
Once again, they gave it to me for free. I'm sure I'll play it at some. I think I played it in beta a little bit.
it kind of sucked in beta, the multiplayer.
Yeah, I didn't enjoy it in beta, and then I
think a lot of it is there's all the driver updates have come through and all that too, so the game feels really smooth. But yeah, well, we should
play
give
sometime, buddy.
a whirl sometime.
I will give any first-person shooter a shot, and I like a lot of strategy games and that type. So,
well,
I'm pretty much waiting for Cyberpunk to come out, so then I can just quit any
My
gigs.
man.
Doesn't that
gig
just look
shots.
amazing?
And I'm just gonna
Oh.
sit back. And I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna become like 400 pounds. Maybe take out food. I'm gonna maybe move on. I'll move into my brother's basement, and so I don't have to worry about bills or anything. And I can set up my desk. He's got a spare bathroom in the basement, so I'll set up my desk around that toilet. It'll be
no
great.
one will know you're there.
And then I will play that game, and yeah, just become a vegetable. So that's my long-term goals.
Excellent. I'll leave you off with a happy thought. Support Frags in our chat said he loved your work. He'll miss you.
Thank you. I will miss you as well.
You have one fan. There's that.
That's all I need.
That's all you need right
That-
there.
But to be fair, like when you made that announcement on Twitter, I mean the outpour from the Overwatch community and even other communities, the Counter-Strike community was awesome to read. I'll miss you, Malcolm.
Well,
On the
my brother just sent me a message, so he's watching the show, so now he knows my plans.
Uh-oh.
So I have two
he
fans.
knows my secrets. Oh
I
god.
have two fans. Yeah, I.
Were you
myself.
surprised? Did that make you a little emotional? The fact that you did see, I mean, some of the names that were commenting, are pretty cool people.
The private ones were even better. I hate to say it.
I mean, I messaged you privately, so I'll
yes.
accept that. Accept
That
It was-
I was on the ledge, and then you sent me a message, and I stepped back. So thank you
She was
so
like, well,
much.
hell, if Peach
for
Room
that.
is saying something, then okay.
And it's like there's some people that I'm not going to mention any by name, but I'm like there was some really, really touching stuff, and I got invited to lots of dinners and stuff. It was great. It felt great.
If
to
only
hear
I
somebody.
wasn't fired.
Yeah, if only I wasn't fired. This
You
would
felt
be
so
great
comforting,
to hear,
except for the fact I just
hear
got
all this
fired.
support.
Yeah.
No, it was great.
That's why I'm a job anymore.
It's like some of the people that you would consider the grumpiest, meanest people in esports are sending you heartfelt messages. It's like it's like if only people knew how nice you actually were. So it's funny. But yeah, I'm like there was people that I had never even worked with that had sent messages. They either was just of support because they've been in that same position too, because
It's the
everybody
business.
gets fired. Yeah, and if you worked a Hollywood movie or a TV show, it is very likely at least once in your life you showed up to a set and it's closed down. Nope, funding ran out, or studio closes down, and you're done. And you're planning on working for the next 2 or 3 months, and it's gone. It's common in the broadcast industry to walk to work and it's gone. It's just how it is. There's no real security. Game dev for a lot of people is like that. I would say, my thing is I was promised it wouldn't be like that. I was promised, hey, if things don't work out here, we can move you to here, or we'll take you. And like literally, that's what I was told. So I was lied to.
Well, like I said, I don't want to get mushy, but I think you'll land back on your feet just fine, and you'll be better for it.
Yep. There's
If you're ever in Dallas, I got spare rooms for you, buddy.
I will hook that up.
I built a gaming PC for my wife just so when friends come over.
Because she doesn't game, so
No,
you
no,
built
are
that
you
for her.
kidding? No.
She
I was
never,
like, hey,
she
babe,
never
I'm gonna-
used it.
No.
I was like, I'm gonna build you a computer, sweetie. Don't you worry about it. And then all of a sudden, the parts came in, and she was like, "This isn't for me, is it?" I'm like, "No,
What?
no, it's not."
That's a good
Yeah,
plan.
you get all the old stuff.
I was like, "These are for my
Oh.
friends who come over."
Oh, yeah.
Anyways, this is Jason Baker, aka Alchemist, aka Freelancer. By the way,
Mhm.
you can hit him up. What is your Twitter? At Alchemeister5.
Alchemeister, actually, Alchemister is how I say it, but
Mister.
I don't-
Sorry.
Whoa.
because Alchemist was
Sorry.
taken, obviously.
He's even producing
Uh,
you now.
Sorry. He's not. He
Yeah.
doesn't have a phonetic spelling. How am I supposed to know? How to say
I
it?
mean, we can talk about the mustache if you really want to.
Oh,
Yo.
no.
Bro,
Now,
That's
is
not
this
what you
for-
said in New
because
York.
Now, if it's for Movember, I'm like, hey, that's great.
It's
Now,
not.
if it's because you don't want the state troopers in Texas to give you a ticket, so they're like, hey, look, guys, I'm one of you with the mustache.
Listen,
I get it.
you laugh. At this point, I cannot shave it. There are way too big a name people in this industry now that only recognize me because of the mustache.
It's actually true. I'm not
Talking
gonna
about
lie.
Dr. Disrespect.
Like
It's
you
talking
knew
about
me.
like AKM or something or OG. Like they only like knew him
Yeah.
by looking
you
at
knew,
him like, hey,
you knew me before the
mustache guy?
mustache.
You don't-
Alchemist. I
you
was
could-
nobody.
here's-
I was just a normal
could-
white guy.
If you shave that off, you can get yourself a name tag. It works just as
I'm
well.
not gonna walk around with a name tag. That's even lamer.
hey, it looks great. You do whatever makes you happy. Don't let some short, bald ass old guy tell you what to do. You
That's
do
right.
whatever makes you happy.
That's right. Hey, you want to
But
hear
if you're
a
in my
professional
show, I'd
outro?
actually cut it. Oh yeah, let's do it.
All right, let's give me 1 second here. We're gonna rift. Hey, Alchemist, give me 2 minutes on Cloud9.
What?
All right.
Oh, nothing is great.
Nothing.
Oh, he's not-
Hold up.
Nothing's done on Cold 9 anymore.
What are
is
you
he?
talking about?
man.
When was the last time you watched Counter Strike? If nothing was your go-to reference for Cloud9,
You know. Oh, so nothing is great. You know, I
that was
really,
like a year ago.
my favorite is watching Yanko on the desk. Man, I cannot wait to tune in and just watch. Yanko
Oh,
on the desk. That's what I'm
oh,
looking
buddy,
for.
I
I hate to
terrible
tell you.
news.
Oh God, bad news. Bad news about that. Oh,
SK
man.
is so
and,
good.
and I tell you what, one of the things that always warms my heart is just tuning in and watching that stable and consistent Virtus Pro lineup.
I was
I
about to say.
love
being
it.
your favorite
It just-
game.
Man,
it's just-
you're like awaking from a cryogenic freezing right now.
I've watched plenty of games. I definitely would not feel comfortable riffing on how all the teams are doing. Besides, Astralis is amazing. Navi, Simple, and Electronic together is an absolutely fucking nightmare.
In a good
Liquid,
way.
I'm very very happy with to see how they're doing. I like them. Mouse Sports. I talk with Chris often.
Whoa.
I hope.
Okay. My dog
Yeah,
was
we
Chris.
Dude, he made the play of the year recently.
Yeah,
so
that was
dude
amazing.
that was one of the craziest
So
5K you can see there.
my first team that I was like a fanboy of, which I've never really been like a fan type, but when I was first getting into Counter Strike, Mouse Sports was the first team. Johnny R was my favorite player and stuff. And then once I started meeting players and stuff, I stopped rooting for teams. I started rooting to catch the big moments, not.
Yeah.
But so I've always been like a Mouse Sports fan. So I've always sat and talked with all the Mouse Sports people, and I've always chatted with them. I even still talk with Johnny R. He's like a salesman for a company in Germany now.
Whoa.
But-
Dr. Johnny R.
Johnny R. So Mouse Sports. I like. It's like they're good, but not good enough, and they're having all these difficulties.
Hey,
They've been
Styko's
just
back on the
Styko.
team.
Yeah, they got him back. So
I think that'll be a good move for them.
yeah, we'll see what happens with that. That would.
The $290,000 benching.
Yeah, that's kind of strike prices are kind of nuts right now. Other than that, I don't think I could talk about any of the teams at any level without actually doing research. And the thing is, I would do that anyway. Like if I was really into doing the Counter Strike when I was doing the E-League events, I watched every event right before I'd get to a season, I would go through all the articles on the teams and all their records again and go through all their storylines, because some of the stuff I don't bother memorizing because I'm old.
That's what
And it
notes are
doesn't
for.
matter. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Like I don't have to say it. I just need to know the basic outlines and build the stories for the other guys. So
I mean, you know, when you host a world-renowned podcast like the Center Ring,
Mhm.
you have to know some things, you know. So I understand the pressure.
yeah, I don't know
When you
anything.
host
I
a
don't know
production
anybody's
level
name.
like this, it happens.
When I get there, I will definitely
You know,
be more prepared to.
if you need any tips, you just let me know. I'll let you know how production works.
Hit me up,
and
please.
how the
please.
notes
Just
and all that
Hopefully
work.
hopefully this is the interview that lands you your next gig. I think you did great today.
This could be it. This could be.
This
this
could
is
be
the
my
thing.
shot.
This could be that. Hopefully not a lawsuit from Blizzard. I'm not sure what I said, so
I think
let's
you're
see what
good.
happens.
No, man, you're good. Yeah.
That
Hey,
everyone
let's
was
talk about
nice.
Project Titan afterwards, okay? Don't leave.
I mean, you didn't say that thing you told me about Jeff off air, so you're good. You're good.
No,
Yeah.
don't you dare!
Yeah,
Don't you dare! You take that back. You
I'm
take that
kidding.
from the
I'm
VOD.
kidding, Jeff.
You
I'm
may
kidding.
never say a bad word about Jeff Cap.
I would never
No,
do
it was
that.
Scott
Jeff, it was
Mercer.
Siegel.
I would never. Oh yes, our mutual friend Siegel.
Siegel's
right.
a great
Mutual
guy.
friend.
We are
I love Siegel.
best friends.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Yeah. Anyways, here's a professional outro for you. That just about does it for the Center Ring, aka TCR, aka your favorite esports podcast. Episode 125 is in the books, or 126. I don't know if we ever established what episode number this was. 126. This is episode 126. See how we do that, Alchemist? We
That was
figure out
nice. That's
what we
lovely.
figure out what the episode is in the outro.
That's
That's
good.
how
You should have a
professionals
piece,
do it.
If you have a piece of paper, you can write that stuff down and
Now,
be
why do
ready.
we do that? I have notes in about 4 different spots, and they all have different episode numbers on them. So we'll just figure it out. Again, though,
Look
thank
at
you
these.
to
Instant graphics. Boom.
thank you to Alchemist again for joining us. You can
Thanks
make
for
sure
having
you
me.
follow him at Alchemister5 on Twitter. Just follow us on Twitter at the Center Ring. We'll retweet his, and you can follow him there. Get his latest goings. Ask him. He's very talkative on Twitter. He'll like a tweet on you. You like just about everything on Twitter, so I appreciate it. It makes me feel good.
Do what I can.
We'll be back next week. Our normal times are going to be Mondays, so we're switching from Wednesdays to Mondays. It works out better for everyone, I believe. But for Anuj, for Brett, for Alchemist, we'll see you next time.